Second Macabees 10:1. Now Maccabeus and his company, the Creator guiding them, recovered the temple and the city. 2. But the altars which the heathen had built in the open streets, also the chapels, they pulled down. 3. And having cleansed the temple, they made another altar, and striking stones, they took fire out of them, and offered a sacrifice after 2 years, and sent forth incense and lights, and showbread. 8. They ordained also by a common statute and decree that every year those days should be kept of the whole nation of the Israelites. 11. So when he was coming to the crown, he set one Lysias over the affairs of his realm, and appointed him chief governor over Syria and Phoenicia. 12. For Ptolemaeus was called Macron, choosing rather to do justice unto the Israelites for the wrong that had been done unto them, endeavored to continue peace with them. 13. Whereupon, being accused of the king's friends before Eupator, called traitor at every word, because he had left Cyprus, that Philometor had committed unto him, and departed to Antiochus Epiphanes, and seeing that he was in no honorable place, he was so discouraged that he poisoned himself and died. 15. And therewithal the Idumeans, having gotten into their hands the most commodious holds, kept the Israelites occupied in receiving those that were banished from Jerusalem. They went about to nourish war. 16. Then they that were with Maccabeus made supplications and besought the Creator that thy would be the helper, so that they ran with violence upon the strongholds of the Idumeans. 19. Maccabeus left Simon and Joseph and Zacchus also, and them that were with him, who were enough to besiege them, and departed himself unto those places which more he needed his help. 21. But when it was told to Maccabeus what was done, he called the governors of the people together, and accused those men that they sold their brethren for money, and set their enemies free to fight against them. 22. So he slew those that were found traitors, and immediately took 2 castles. 29. But when the battle waxed strong, there appeared unto the enemies from the heavens 5 comely men upon horses, with bridles of gold, and 2 of them led the Israelites. 30. And took Maccabeus between them, and covered him on every side with weapons, and kept him safe, but shot arrows and lightning against the enemies, so that being confounded with blindness and full of trouble, they were killed. 33. But they that were with Maccabeus laid siege against the fortress courageously 4 days. 35. Nevertheless, upon the 5th day, early 20 young men of Maccabeus company, inflamed with anger because of the blasphemies, assaulted the wall manly, and with a fierce courage killed all that was met withal. 11:1. Not long after this, Lysias, the king's protector and cousin, who also managed the affairs, took sore displeasure for these things that were done. 4. Not all considering the power of the Creator, but puffed up with 10,000 of footmen, and 10,000 or his thousands of horsemen, and his 80 elephants. 6. Now when they were with Maccabeus heard that he besieged the holds, they and all the people that with him lamentations and tears besought the Creator that he would send a good angel to deliver Israel. 7. That Maccabeus himself first of all took weapons, exhorting the others that they would jeopardize themselves. together with him to help their brethren. So they went forth together with a willing mind. 12. Many of them also being wounded escaped naked, and Lysias himself fled away shamefully, and so escaped. 15. Then Macabees consented to all that Lysias desired, being careful of the common good, and whatsoever Macabees wrote unto Lysias concerning the Israelites, the king granted it. 17. Jan and Absalom, who were sent from you, delivered me the petition to subscribe, and made request for the performance of the contents thereof. 18. Therefore, what things soever were meet, or were meant to be, or reported to the king, I declare them, and thou hast granted as much as before. 19. If then you will keep yourselves loyal to the state, hereafter also will I endeavor to be a means of your good. 22. Now the king's letter contained these words: King Antiochus unto his brother Lysias sendeth greetings. 23. Since our father is translated unto the gods, our will is that they that are in our realm live quietly, and that every one may attend upon his own affairs. 24. We understand also that the Israelites would not consent to our father, for he brought unto the custom of the Gentiles, but had rather keep their own manner of living, for that which caused they to require us, that we should suffer them to live after their own laws. 26. Thou shalt do well, therefore, to send unto them, and grant them peace, that when they are certified of our mind, they may be of good comfort, and ever go cheerfully about their own affairs. 30. Wherefore they that will depart shall have safe conduct to the 13th day of Xanthicus with security. 31. And the Israelites shall use their own kind of meats and laws as before, and none of them in any manner of way shall be molested for the things ignorantly done. 34. The Romans also sent unto them a letter containing these words: Quantus Minius and Titus Manlius, ambassadors of the Romans, send greetings unto the people of the Israelites. 35. Whosoever Lysias, the king's cousin, granted, therewith we also will do. 12:1. When these covenants were made, Lysias sent unto the king, and the Israelites were about their husbandry. 2. But the governor of several places, Timotheus Apollonius, the son of Genneus, also Hieronymus, and Demophon, and besides them, Nicanor, the governor of Cyprus, would not suffer them to be quiet and live in peace. 3. The men of Yape also did such as the ungodly deeds. They prayed the Israelites that dwelt among them to go with their wives and children into the boats which they had prepared, also that they had meant them no harm. 4. Who accepted of it according to the common decree of the city, as being desirous to live in peace, and suspecting nothing. But when they were going forth into the deep, they drowned no less than 200 of them. 5. When Judas heard of this cruelty done unto his countrymen, he commanded those that were with them to make ready. 7. And when the town was shut up, he went backwards, as if he would return to a root out of all of them, the city of Yape. 8. But when he had heard that the Yanites were minded to do in like manner unto the Israelites that dwelt among them. 9. He came unto the Yanites and also by night, and set fire unto the haven in the navy, so that the light of the fire was seen at Jerusalem, 240 furlongs off. 16, and took the city by the will of Creator, and made unspeakable slaughters, and so much as the lake of 2 furlongs abroad, there the adjoining thereunto, being filled full, was seen running with blood. 18, but as for Timotheus, they found him not in the places. For before he had dispatched anything, he departed from thence, having left a very strong garrison in a certain hold. 19, howbeit Dositheus and Sosipater, who were of Macabees captains, went forth and slew those of Timotheus, and had left in the so 19, howbeit Dositheus and Sosipater, who were of Macabees captains, went forth and slew those that Timotheus had left in the fortress, above 10,000 men. 23, Judas also was very earnest in pursuing them and killing those wicked wretches. Of them he slew 30,000 men. 24, moreover, Timotheus himself fled into the hands of Dositheus and Sosipater, and who he besought with much craft to let him go with his life, because he had many of the Israelite parents and the brethren of some of them, who, if they put him to death, should not be regarded. 25, so when he had assured them in many words that he would restore them without hurt according to the agreement, they let him go, saving their brethren. 26, then Macabees marched forth to Carneon, into the temple of Atargatis, and there he slew 25,000. 38, so Judas gathered his host and came into the city of Odolam, and when the 7th day came, they purified themselves, and as the custom was, and kept the Sabbath in the same place. 44, for if he had not hoped that they were slain should have risen again, and it had been superfluous in vain to pray for the dead. 45, and also in that he perceived that there was great favor laid up for them that died godly. It was a holy and good thought, whereupon he made a reconciliation for the dead, that they might be delivered from sin. 13:1, in the 149th year, it was told Judas and Antiochus Eupator, who was coming with a great power into Judea. 2, and with them Lysias his protector, and the rulers of his affairs, having either of them a Grecian power of footmen, and 110,000, and horsemen 5,000, and 300 elephants 220, and 300 chariots armed with hooks. 3, Manilos also joined himself with them, and with great dissimulation encouraged Antiochus, not for the safeguard of the country, but because he thought to have been made governor. 4, but the king of kings moved Antiochus' mind against the wicked wretch, and Lysias informed the king that this man was the cause of all the mischief. So the king commanded to bring him unto Berea, and to put him to death, as the manner in the place. 5, now there was in the place a tower of 5 cubits high, full of ashes, and it was a round instrument, which on every side hang down into the ashes. 6, and whosoever was condemned of sacrilege, or had committed any other grievous crime, there did all men thrust unto their death. 9. Now the king came with a barbarous and haughty mind to do far worse to the Israelites than had been done to their fathers in their fathers' time. 13. And Judas, being a part of the elders, determined before the king's host should enter into Judea, and to get the city, and to go forth and to test the matter and fight by the help of the Creator. 14. So when he had committed all to the Creator of the world, and exhorted his soldiers to fight manfully, even unto death for the laws, the temples, and the city, the country, and the commonwealth, he camped by Modin. 20. For Judas had conveyed unto them that were in it such things as were necessary. 21. But Rhodocus, who was in the Israelite host, disclosed the secrets of the enemies. Therefore he was sought out, and when they had gotten him, they put him in prison. 22. The king treated with them in Beth Surah the second time, and gave his hand, took theirs, departed, fought with Judas, and was overcome. 23. Heard that Philip, who was left over the affairs of Antiochus, was desperately bent, confounded, and treated the Israelites, submitted himself, and swore to all equal conditions, agreed with them, and offered sacrifices, honored the temple, and dealt kindly with the place. 25. Came to Ptolemais. The people there were grieved for the covenants, for they stormed because they would make their covenants void. 26. Lysias went up to the judgment seat and said much as. So Lysias, 26. Lysias went up to the judgment seat and said as much as was able to be in defense of the cause, persuaded, pacified, and made them well affected, and returned into Antioch. Thus it went touching the king's coming and departing. 14:1. After 3 years was Judas informed that Demetrius, the son of Seleucus, having entered by the heavens of Tripolis with a great power and navy, 2. Had taken the country and killed Antiochus and Lysias, his protector. 3. Now one alchemist, who had been the high priest and had defiled himself willingly in the times of their mingling with the Gentiles, seeing by no means he was able to save himself, nor have any more access to the holy altar. 6. Those of the Israelites that had been called Assyrian, those of the Israelites that be called Assyrians, whose captain is Judas Macabees, nourish war in our sedition, and will not let the realm be in peace. 10. For as long as Judas lives, it is not possible that the state should be quiet. 11. This was no sooner spoken of him, but others of the king's friends, being maliciously set against Judas, did more incense Demetrius. 12. And forthwith calling Nicanor, who had been master of the elephants, and making him governor over Judea, he set him forth. 13. Commanded him to slay Judas, and to scatter them that were with them, and to make Alchemist the high priest of the great temple. 14. That the heathen that had fled out of the Judea from Judas came to Nicanor by the flocks, thinking the harm of the calamities and of the Israelites to be their welfare. 17. Now Simon Judas' brother had joined battle with Nicanor, but was somewhat discomfited through the sudden silence of his enemies. 26. But Alchemist, perceiving the love that was between them, and considering the covenants that were made, named that came to Demetrius and told him that Nicanor was not well affected toward the state, for he ordained Eutychus as a traitor. 27. Then the king, being enraged, provoked with the accusations of the Most High. So then the king, being enraged, provoked with the accusations of the most wicked man, wrote to Nicanor, signifying that he has much displeased the covenants, and commanding him that he should send Macabees prisoner in all the haste unto Antiochus, or the Antioch. 30. Notwithstanding, when Macabees saw that Nicanor began to be churlish unto him, that he entreated him more roughly than he was wont, perceiving that such sour behavior came out not for good, he gathered together not a few of his men, and withdrew himself from Nicanor. 33. And he stretched out his hand towards the temple and made an oath in this manner: If you will not deliver me Eutychus as a prisoner, I will lay the temple of the Creator even with the ground. I will break down the altar and erect a notable temple unto Bacchus. 34. After these words he departed. Then the priests lifted up their heads towards the heavens and besought thee that was ever a defender. 15. But when Nicanor, hearing that Eutychus his company were in the strong places about Samaria, resolved without any danger to set upon them on the Sabbath day. 7. But Macabees had ever sure confidence that the Creator would help him. 8. Wherefore he exhorted his people to be not to fear in the coming. So wherefore he exhorted his people not to fear the coming of the heathen against them, but to remember the help which is in the former times they had received from the heavens, and now to accept the victory and aid which had come unto them from the Almighty. And when he had stirred up their minds, he gave them their charge, showing them therewithal the falsehood of the heathen, a breach and oath. 11. Thus he armed every one of them, not so much as with defensive shields and spears, as with comfortable and good words. And besides that, he told them a dream worthy to be believed, as if it had been so indeed, which did not a little rejoice them. 12. 12. And this was his vision, that Onias, who had been a high priest, a virtuous and a good man, a reverend in conversation, gentle in condition, well spoken also, and exercised from a child in all points of virtue, holding up in his hands, prayed for the whole body of the Israelites. 13. This done in like manner, there appeared a man with gray hairs and exceeding glorious. 13. This is done in like manner, there appeared a man with gray hairs and exceeding glorious, who was of a wondrous and excellent majesty. 19. Also they that were in the city took not the least care, being troubled for the conflict abroad. 21. Macabees, seeing the coming of the multitude and the divers preparations of armor and the fierceness of the beast, stretched out his hands toward the heavens and called upon the Creator that worketh wonders, knowing that the victory cometh not by the arms, but even as it seems good for them, he giveth it to such as were worthy. 27. So the fighting with their hands and the praying unto the Creator with their hearts, they slew no less than 35,000 men, for through the appearance of the Creator they were greatly cheered. 30. And Eudes, who was ever the chief defender of the citizens, both in the body and the mind, who continued his love toward his countrymen of all his life, commanded to strike off Nicanor's head in his hand with his shoulders, and bring them to Jerusalem. 32, and showed them Val Nicanor's head in the hand that blasphemed, which with proud brags he had stretched out against the holy temple of the Most High. 33, and when he had cut off the tongue of the ungodly Nicanor, he commanded that they should give it to the pieces unto the fowls, and hang it upon as a reward of his madness before the temple. 35, he hanged also Nicanor's head upon the towers, and an evident and manifest sign unto all that help the Creator. Sign unto all the help of the Creator. 36, and they ordained all with common decree, in no case to let the day pass without solemnity, but to celebrate the 13th day of the 12th month, which is in the Syrian tongue called Adar, and the day before Macabees Day. 39, for as it is hurtful to drink wine or water alone, as wine mingled with water is pleasant and delightful to taste, even so speech finely framed delighteth the ears of them that read the story, and here shall be the end. And the end of the Apocrypha, liberation.